start of the program that one part of the show has to do with what the fund manager is thinking, and the second part of the show should help you when you decide a strategy to set your own mutual fund portfolio. And I thought, what better way to get you a sense of that than to ask the expert how he constructs his own portfolio. So joining me in studio today is Kshitiz Mahajan, the Managing Partner and Chief Executive Officer of Complete Wealth Solutions. First of all, Kshitiz, thank you so much for joining me today, and pleasure having you in studio. And you've sent me some details.
Right.
I thought, and of course, it must be important to state where you stand on the risk scale,
right,
because it's not a one-size-fit-all solution.
Right.
But it'll give our viewers a good sense of how you construct your portfolio.
Right.
So let's start with that. What is your thinking when you start constructing your mutual fund portfolio?
So good afternoon, Alex, and good afternoon to all the viewers. So my view of while I start investing in mutual fund is that when I need these funds. So eventually you plan for a goal. If you don't have a goal with you, then maybe it's a doubler or a tripler. Maybe you like to move out. You think that money has doubled or tripled.
Yeah.
But when you have a goal, in front of you, then you make then things become much easier for you. Then you know that okay, let's say 2030 or 2035, you don't need funds for that time. So you can plan things accordingly, and you can choose your funds accordingly. Luckily, I'll say that because I was always a part of asset management company, and then on the wealth side and on the capital market side. So because I understand equity a little better vis-a-vis anybody who's starting in new. So, and I was sure that yes, this is a way how you can construct a portfolio and create a portfolio for you, which is inflation beating, and you can start small. I started my 100% allocation towards equity mutual funds only. That's how I started. So whatever portfolio I have today, it's all been constructed through SIP.
Got it.
It's all been constructed through SIP. And if you ask my goals, I have a daughter who's 10 years old as we speak. So when I started, she was, let's say, because number of times I bought a house, at that time I have to liquidate some portfolio. But you can say that 7 years back I started building again. And at that time it was very clear, I require funds when she'll turn 18.
Sure.
So I was having 15 years on my side. So when you have that type of time on your side, your risk appetite increases because you don't need fund in 5, 6, 7 years. And that's how you can see from my portfolio also that it's little skewed toward the small cap side.
Let's pull that up while we're speaking to Kshitiz, right? Because there are a few charts. Of course, he's not gone into the individual schemes, but we can talk about, like we normally do with Kshitiz, the schemes that he likes. He's not necessarily going to tell you exactly what he invests in, but the category allocation is there. And we can pull up that first pie chart. It'll give you a sense of where he invests. So there is 12% in focused equity. There's 12.4% in large and mid cap. There is 6.6% in mid cap. I'm curious about that, so I'm going to ask him about that in just a bit.
Right.
There's a substantial portion, a 30% odd in small cap. Micro cap has 7%. In sectoral and thematic, there's a sizable portion as well,
right,
about 24 odd percent. And international is 7.6. Let's start with that mid cap allocation, because that stood out to me. 6.6%.
Right.
Why is it so less?
So, when you have a focus fund or large and mid-cap fund, there's a specific mid-cap allocation which you get through those categories also. And you see that small cap as a category, it's very high on the riskometer scale. People who are watching us, they should know that it's because my risk appetite is a little higher and my time horizon is a little long. So I have this allocation toward that small cap category. And then, when you have this, you can actually choose small or you can choose mid. So, I choose small cap funds on my portfolio side. So that's why the allocation towards small cap is little high, as other funds are giving allocation toward mid cap through
category as
through
well.
Category also.
Okay, what about the sectoral and thematic? Because
Yes,
I'm guessing this is sectoral and thematic.
Yes, I want to talk about it,
Yeah.
because so this is a recent last 2 years edition that I started, because as the country focus and maybe the government focus is stepping up on the manufacturing side, I added manufacturing funds to my portfolio.
Okay.
My belief is that manufacturing is no more a cyclical sector. It has become more like a evergreen sector, like what we used to talk about banking or FMCG sector.
Yes.
Having said that, banking is an evergreen sector. For the last 4 years, it's not done well.
Yeah.
So I have banking as a sectoral allocation also towards my portfolio, because if your overall ecosystem of GDP will grow at 12%, I'm sure banking will grow at 15-16%. That's the backbone of any country. So I think that sector one, which will do well because of the country focus, we are talking about 25% contribution of GDP by 2030 from manufacturing. Second, because the underperformance is there in that sector, that's why I have added that sector. So these are the two sectors which is on the sectoral allocation where there is a heavy weight. No, banking, I agree with you. You get 25-26% allocation in most of the multi-cap and focus fund category funds. But as I don't have much allocation toward the focus category, I have chosen banking as a separate allocation for myself as a sector. And manufacturing, I think, is going to remain for long in my portfolio from here onwards.
Okay.
Also.
How much of all of this is active and how much is passive, Kshitiz?
So my allocation only in international fund is passive. Everything else is active.
And why is that?
So I still feel that India has a long way to go before your passive will become much more better performing vis-a-vis active, because we are still undiscovered and fund managers are doing a great job at their end. So I run my own PMS, as you know.
Of course.
So, but you'll be surprised, my 50% allocation is in mutual fund and 50% in my PMS.
Right.
So irrespective of that, we have our own PMS. I still like to have 5-6 portfolio manager managing my 50%.
Yeah.
And you come to the flavor also what they are doing at their end, how they are managing. I feel that we have a very good set of people who are managing the active show. And maybe last couple of years, you see many of the passive funds have done well because there is not a broad-based rally in some of the scales. But yes, I feel that in a long way, for next at least 5 to 7 years, active will keep on doing better than
and
passive.
Downside protection also exists.
Yes, downside protection also exists because it's a pool. Fund manager can take a call. But in passive, you have to replicate, or let's say you mirror image the index only. That's what you have to do. But yes, as I don't understand US markets, that's why I have taken NASDAQ and S&P 500, both funds, 50-50%, and put in an index fund.
Okay. We'll come to incremental investments in just a bit, but I'm curious about your selection. Okay, without getting into absolute details of it, I'm just trying to get a sense of how many schemes you own. So, for example, you have 30% in your small cap portfolio. Obviously, you've tried to diversify there as well.
Two small cap. Two small cap funds are there, and I can take the name. One is SPI and one is Invesco. This is my holding. So, and there's no recommendation. These are my personal holdings.
Yes, which is why I thought it would be a good sense to. Why did you choose them? What was the thinking?
I think Kshitiz Mahajan, who's the CIO also of SPI, who managed SPI small cap fund, I think the way the portfolio construct is, with the size what they are managing, they are doing a terrific job. Nippon has done really well.
Incredibly well.
Yeah, incredibly done. But I've been with them, with SPI for the last 4-5 years. So, funds are very different, the way they perform, underperform. Sometimes, let's say, if both of us are fund managers, sometimes your bets will play in a year, sometimes my bets will play. So, you can't keep on switching the lane because there is 1 year underperformance or drag vis-a-vis index. So you have to give time to a fund manager. And I think my purpose and my expectation from capital market is index fund 12, actively manage focus or multi-cap fund 13-14%, small fund, mid-cap fund 15-16%, large and mid-cap fund 15%, small cap fund 16-17%. That's what one should look at.
What are the standout choices that you have in your focus large and mid-cap category?
Focus is HDFC Focus, I can tell you. I have only one fund, and they have done the fund really well. And that's why if you see the performance also, which I've sent you, and I was surprised that and Focus is last 2-year edition, small cap is for last 6-7 years. So you'll see that Focus is showing much better return because last 2 years market has done well. So there is no comparison. And large and mid cap, I like Tata large and mid cap. Chandprakash Padhar is the guy who manages this portfolio, and I think the selection in terms of the way he maneuver during what sectors one has to pick, he's really active in that. So obviously last 1 year has not been that great, but I'm not worried about that. I'm here for next 8-10 years, and you should not keep on looking at your portfolio. Believe me, I was not even remembering what all funds I'm investing into till the time you approached and said can you show me that what all things you are doing. Then I said, oh, I have this also.
I'm glad that you looked at. So, but very quickly, do you change? We have 30 seconds. Do you change the SIP quantum to adjust for markets?
Yes, so how do you do that? I do that. I just step up. I don't reduce.
Okay.
Come what may, if market falls, I just try to see, can I step up by 5,000, 6,000, or let's say 10,000, whatever amount I can step up with. I do that at my end. And obviously, it's like every time I just look at the portfolio, I just say that how I can just add more sugar to it to make it more sweet.
I'm glad. Thank you so much, Kshitiz, for joining in. Pleasure speaking with you.
Likewise.
And hopefully this gave you a bit of a sense of how to construct your own portfolio. Let us know what you think in the number that flashes on your screen, and do stay tuned. This is NDTV Profit.